I think the team we probably all are most worried about, and I think the whole league is looking at, is Memphis, right? I mean, there's a
Yeah, I was gonna say,
one,
let's jump
one and
into the
seven,
Grizzlies.
and it ain't getting better right now.
1-7. Obviously, no John Morant. December 19th. They got that date circled. That's when he's back from the 25-game suspension. The Steven Adams season-ending surgery. Brandon Clark, very possibly out for the year. That's pretty devastating. Marcus Smart coming to town. No Tyus Jones. Who am I leaving out, guys? That they're missing from?
I mean, look, if we go back 2 years when it felt like they were so deep, like you said, no Tyus Jones, no more D'Anthony Melton, no more Kyle Anderson, no more Dylan Brooks, who's playing well in Houston right now. Whatever you want to say about him.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room is the Dylan Brooks one. He's playing well in Houston. It's tough. I mean, are they going to pull out of this? I don't know. This hole seems pretty deep. You're talking about a team that offensively, it's funny. Tyus Jones led the league, and as you guys know, in assist to turnover ratio last 5 years. Coming into last night, Grizzlies not only let's see, where were they? 25th in assist to turnover ratio. Offense is terrible. Defense is not bad, but it's a bad way for them, and it's just not what they had in mind. They needed to keep their head above water while Ja was out. And the tough part is, they've actually been competitive. 6 of the 7 losses were single digits. They lose in overtime to Portland. It's funny. I heard friend and colleague Tom Haberstroh the other day on a Yahoo podcast with Dan Devine breaking down the adjusted net rating of the Grizzlies, and it was a very kind of rose-colored glasses, silver lining type perspective on Memphis, and he had indicated that the net rating, if you're talking about strength of competition being factored in, was middle of the road, around 15th. I don't know if I buy into that too much, but 24th overall right now in net rating and the league's worst offense.
I'm going to be a little less rose-colored. Even once Ja comes back, I'm still nervous about this team being anything close to. This is a team that the second best record in the West 2 years in a row, and I would be shocked if they got back up there, even if they played at that level once Ja is back. And part of the reason why is, you guys touched on it a little bit. There are so many nuances here beyond just not having guys. Their style is different, and their biggest flaw for all these years is now even bigger than it was before, which is even when they were winning games in the mid-50s and playing the Warriors in the playoffs and challenging to get to the conference finals and all of that. This team, its biggest flaw was that it could get bogged down in the half court. That's what we saw all the time. Problems with the half court offense. And its half court offense was built around the fact that they were going to get stops, and they could be really, really good running the ball, which could make up for it. And when they missed shots, they were better than anybody else in the NBA in getting second shots. They were the best offensive rebounding team in the league. And they even catered their shot selection around that, whether intentionally or not, in some ways, right? Like, they take a lot of floaters, for example, which is a really high offensive rebound shot. They have all these guys who take those sorts of shots, which you're going to gobble up on the offensive boards. And they would lead the league or finish second in the league in offensive rebound rate, basically every year, in and out, over and over. And it would hold up their offense, and it would make their half-court offense somewhat pliable. And now there's no Steven Adams, who was a one-man offensive rebounding machine, one of the 2 best offensive rebounders in the league, maybe the best, along with Mitchell Robinson. There's no Brandon Clark flying in for offensive boards. And all of a sudden, this team is 24th, 25th in offensive rebound rate just by missing those 2 guys. That was a massive element of their offense and their identity. And it's now turned into a weakness, which is exacerbating a larger weakness on the roster. I'm nervous with the way that they're comprised about how they can get up to like a good win total that will take them above the play-in tournament. The West is really deep, and they're flawed.
I mean, Fred, at 1-7, I'm not sure that play-in tournament is something you can assume either. You know what I mean? With the way the West is.
Yeah. I figure that, like, they still have Ja. I figure that, like, 38, 39 wins shouldn't be an unreasonable expectation, but you're right. Like, they're 1-7.
So this season felt like a pretty big. They made a big bet on their draft and development program, which obviously had been good. You kept Bane 30th. Jackson was a good draft pick, Ja, but they eroded at their depth the last couple of years based on the fact that they thought, hey, look, David Roddy can fill in, Jake LaRavia can fill in, and Zaire Williams, right? That was a big part, the whole Trey Murphy for Zaire Williams, draft night swap, which included Valanciunas for Steven Adams. I don't know. Those three young guys haven't developed yet. We'll see. I know player development was the thing they really kind of were focusing on, looking to improve on this summer. It's too early to judge 8 games in. But if those guys don't prove to be legit rotation pieces, then one of their large strengths from the teams we're talking about, which was their depth, is completely gone. So I think, and I'm not optimistic it's coming back right now.
You mentioned Zaire Williams later. Team worst -85. Not going well for that young fella.